B-Luv is in the house. We've got a brand new ITL. Time for your weekly helping of Pensado's Plays.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Just be prepared, I'm kind of spacey today, so if I do something wrong, it's...
So it'll be like the other 65 episodes.
No, I did one good one, Herb, come on.
That's true, other 64.
Hey guys, there's been some chatter about something I said or a mistake I made relative to the Master Fader in Pro Tools. If I had to guess, I'd say I probably said something wrong, so I'll correct that for you. I've got a white paper that we're going to post, and then I'll have another talk with the person that wrote the code, which is where I got that information from. So we'll straighten that out for you. But thanks for all the kind efforts at trying to sort through that. I really appreciate it when you guys pick up the ball when I miss something, and I miss something didn't mean to spit. I miss something every once in a while.
And they do pick up the ball.
They pick up on it, but they do it politely. I like that.
I think it's great. As a matter of fact, the segue to that is, we just know that when we get lots of questions and stuff where there's some in-depth answers we need to give you, particularly through social media. So know that we're getting to those things. It's just been a little bit of a crazy period, all in a good way, mostly because of you and mostly what we want to do for you. So those folks that I personally haven't gotten back to, I'm coming. Some I've gotten to, some I will, but just know that we're going to do that. And also I think it's important, because we do this periodically, to just mention one of the fallen soldiers, Adam MCA from the Beastie Boys, beyond being just incredible trailblazers in music, and also some people know, some people don't know, incredible trailblazers in business.
Yeah,
and
internet too.
Rick Rubin and Ian Rodgers and Russell, lots of stuff ahead of their time, and incredibly long run of being relevant.
Paul's Boutique is one of the top 10 records ever.
Absolutely. So shout out to his family and to that thing. So I know you feel the same. Why don't we get to homework? We got a great brand new ITL on delays. So can we do some homework and get that out of the way?
Mm-hmm. Let's do it.
All right. So as usual, guys, catch us on Facebook and Twitter. You know how to do that. Go to our YouTube page, which is YouTube/Pensado's Place. Make sure you like and subscribe. You see the information up there. And we thank you for doing that. In the chat room is our boy Carl. I'm not sure I have his name right. It's Dito. So Carl, if I get this wrong, come talk to me. It's either Ditto or Dido. Is there any other?
Well, the artist named Dido. I'd go with Dido.
Oh, okay.
Well, let's see what nationality you think it is.
I don't know.
Because that would determine
Let's
the
call him
pronunciation.
Carl. So Carl from Vintage King, our boys at Vintage King. Carl's in the chat room. We'll say hello. Hey, Vintage King. You know we love you as usual.
Absolutely.
Also to our avid friends, we'll say hello to them as usual. Lots of stuff, good stuff coming from there. Mm-hmm. And if you want to get all this aggregated information at one place, go to our website, pensadosplace.tv, and you can find anything else that you need to know. And our man Will is working on some special stuff there. So a lot of good things coming, and thanks to you for that. So absolutely. Homework's out of the way. We got a great ITL. You want to introduce it and get it popping?
Yeah. What I tried to do on this week's ITL was consider it a review of delays, and I intentionally made this for some of the guys just starting out, but I sprinkled in a couple of little tricks for you old timers, and so here's ITL. Hey guys, I was cruising around Gearsluts and some other places this weekend. Most of you guys have a pretty good grasp on delays and different little techniques with delays, and we've covered quite a few, but I thought we've got some new viewers, a lot of new viewers, and they're not quite as advanced as some of you guys. So I thought I would kind of do a quick review of delays and try and toss in some new things so that you advanced guys can still enjoy this into the layer. So I'm using for an example a song called Monsters. It's by the group Loquat. Kylie is the singer. I think the Rondo Brothers produced it. Jesse Nichols engineered it. I love this song. Great song. You can find it on iTunes, so pick it up. The whole album's really good. So this is a dry vocal in the track. I just want you to hear this, and this is what we'll use as kind of a reference to see what we're doing.
Doesn't get shorter as things
Okay, so now we could put reverb on the vocal, and this is what it would sound like if we put some reverb on the vocal.
We breathe as
Okay, in the track.
we breathe as a list that doesn't
Okay, now let's nuke the reverb and let's try delay.
There's a list that doesn't get shorter.
Okay, the beats per minute is 81, so we go to our delay chart. Just type in delay charts in Google. You'll find the delay charts, or you can use a program called Music Math, something like that. Anyway, just Google it. You'll find it. And so we know that our quarter note or eighth note delay for 81 beats per minute, which the song is 370. So let's try that.
There's a list. There's a list.
I'm gonna show you some things real quick. We're in pre. I'm gonna mute the original signal. Because that's only the delay. So let's take a little bit of the top end off, kind of make it emulate an older delay.
That doesn't get shorter as things.
And then another thing that a lot of the older delays have is a little bit of distortion on them. Okay, so now we've colored up our delay a little bit. Let's set our delay back 4 samples, which is about a millisecond. Now let's add that back into our vocal and see what we got.
There's a list that doesn't get shorter.
Okay, let's compare that in the track.
There's a list that doesn't get shorter as things are fit.
I think that's a lot better, just adding that kind of color to it. How did I come up with those particular choices? A lot of the older gear adds a little bit of harmonic distortion, so we added some tube distortion. Tape, a lot of times, took a big roll off on the top, a little bit on the bottom, so we kind of simulated that. We're not trying to actually duplicate anything in the analog world. We're just kind of using that as a guideline to maybe create something new and different. Now let's move on to something else. You've heard the term slap. Well, slap was basically, in the old days, you'd take a send from whatever signal you were trying to enhance, and you would send that to your 2-track stereo tape machine, and then you'd put the tape machine in record. You'd take a mic stand and put it on each end of the tape machine, about 5 feet from the machine. Then you'd get a piece of tape and you'd create a loop around the mic stands, and then you'd tape use splicing tape. You'd take the tape together, so now you had an endless loop of tape going around the mic stand, through the tape machine, mic stand, through the tape machine. And it took advantage of the fact that the record head and the playback head were this far apart. So you monitored not the input to the machine or the record head, you monitored the playback head, and that distance produced anywhere, depending on the machine and depending on the speed, anywhere from 50 to maybe 100, 110, 120 milliseconds. That's not important, but what is important is that's what we came to know as slap, like classic Elvis Presley records, and then that sound became very desirable, and now we still use slap a lot. So what I'm doing is I'm emulating that I experimented a little bit, and I liked 122 milliseconds on this song. Some of the faster songs sound better with. You just got to experiment. It's not a formula, and just move your move. You know what? Let me show you.
There's a
It's 122. I'm gonna change it.
there's a list. There's a list.
So I exaggerated, but let's go back to somewhere right around here.
There's a
Let's put that in the mix.
there's a list.
And this is without it.
There's a list.
Okay. Now we can add our EQs, our tubes, all that to this particular sound too, and it'll actually enhance it. Okay. Let's go to pre, so all we hear is our effect.
A list that doesn't get shorter as things are fixed. There's a list that doesn't.
Okay. Now I'm gonna make this all delay.
There's a list.
Now let's color it up. Let's lo-fi it up. Let's use a lower bit rate.
There's a list that doesn't get shorter as things are fixed. There's a list that doesn't get shorter as things are fixed.
A little too much distortion. Let's back off on that. If you're working in another platform, all I'm doing is just taking the bit rate, lowering it, looks to like 11, 12 bits, and I'm taking the sample rate and lowering it to around 9,000 hertz sample rate. So now let's add a limiter in there just to enjoy that, and let's see what that sounds like.
A list that doesn't get shorter. There's a list that doesn't get shorter as things are fixed. There's a list that doesn't get shorter as things.
Okay, so you can see the color is kind of important because our ears, as humans, we get accustomed to certain sounds, and that becomes the benchmark by which everything else is compared to. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's just actually something that we can use as engineers to shorten the process to finding new sounds. And I like it better when I get that color in there. It just, especially with the limiter, I'm not taking off that much. How much am I taking off?
There's
So not a lot. You can use any limiter. The tools I'm using are not important. What's important is just the concepts if you think that they can enhance what you're doing. Okay, one last thing I want to show you is not earth-shattering here again. None of this is earth-shattering, but as always, I hope that this leads you guys to experimenting, trying new things, and then telling me how to do it. Now I'm going to show you how to get what we call kind of a ping pong effect on the delay from side to side. Pretty basic stuff, but there again, some of you guys are just starting out, and I want to make sure we take care of your needs too. Let's see what we got.
It doesn't get shorter as things are fixed.
Okay, I just evened out the left and right for some reason. It's a little weird on this particular preset. So now we've got quarter notes, but to get the ping pong, let's make one note twice the value of the other. So check this out. We're just listening to the return now. Okay, so now let's put that in our mix. Well, let's see what it sounds like soloed.
There's a list.
Okay, you see why I have to add a little bit of extra gain to the right side. The shorter side usually needs more gain.
There's a list that doesn't get shorter.
You can use two separate mono delays and have different amounts of feedback. I'd have a little less feedback on the long side and a little more feedback on the short side. Now, let's color that one up a little bit. Throw it in the track.
There's a list that doesn't get shorter as things are fixed. There's a list.
That's not bad. I kind of like that. And then if you want to get fancy schmancy, you can put a little reverb, send everything through a little reverb. I actually prefer the sound of less hi-fi reverb, so I like using deverb. Let's solo the.
There's a list that doesn't get shorter.
We're losing a little volume, so let me crank that up so you can hear it with a verb.
There's a list.
This is without it.
There's a list.
Okay, we're losing little gains.
There's a list.
Let's put that in the track.
There's a list that doesn't get shorter as things are fixed.
So I think that gives you some things to play with and think about. Don't be afraid to stack effects. Don't be afraid to stack different things. Another trick you can try is taking a delay and use a real tight, short delay and then feed that delay into another delay. Or you can take and do like I did. You can delay the entire delay system by 4 samples and create different little plays on the. What you're trying to do is get some of the color and harmonic content. Well, that's not accurate. You're just trying to take some of the idiosyncrasies of the piece of gear and have those combine and add and subtract from other pieces of gear. In the analog world, I'd say you're mixing up some harmonic coloration, but in the digital world, Lord knows what you're mixing up. But just use your ear. If it sounds good, it sounds good. So I hope that gets you started and gets you some ideas to thinking of some new ways to approach adding width and depth to your sound. Now, one of the things I forgot to say when we first started is a lot of times when you put reverb on a vocal, it tends to move it back in the mix. So delays are a solution for that problem. You can get and use delays, various combinations of these techniques to get the same effect as a reverb without it taking the vocal and moving it back. You can still keep the vocal right in front of your face. So these techniques are great for rap, they're great for rock vocals, and even pop vocals. So it just depends on what you're trying to do. Experiment with these techniques and let me know. All right. B-Luv, Brian Thomas in his house. Good to see you,
Hey man,
It's
welcome. So welcome to our little our little facility here at the Art Institute of California, Los Angeles. And of course, it's our new HD studio, which HD stands for what, Dave?
Herb and Dave.
That's right, exactly.
Which
But
one's
thanks for
Herb?
coming. Huh?
Which one's Herb?
The one in the green shirt.
Man, it's a cool place, huh?
Oh, no,
Students,
nice to
they're
meet you.
incredible. So let's jump right in. We cool? You got anything to do? So, man, how'd you get started? I know you really well, and I don't really know your history. You're from New York.
Yeah, born and raised in New York.
Did you go to school?
Yeah, I went to the Institute of Audio Research
That's a
in
good
Greenwich
school.
Village. Yeah, it was a really technical school, and I got a lot out of it because, a lot of schools, nowadays, we were doing tape into the more digital recording of digital tape and then into Pro Tools. So from there, I started working at Unique Recording Studios in Manhattan. And that was like my first, big time studio. And there was a MIDI-based studio, one of the few that had a lot of MIDI equipment that most people weren't doing. You had to either rent that equipment, this studio was supplying it for you, and that drew a lot of attention to a lot of hip hop and rap artists because nobody was playing, they were programming.
Right.
So it was all a lot of just a good MIDI background. That's probably one of the better things I've got out of the, the experience in New York was the MIDI and the tape background. Yeah.
How long was it before you started being able to call yourself an independent engineer? How long did it take you to go from 0 to 100?
Not too long. Of course, everybody starts out as a runner or an intern, and I just sat in a room really as much as I could, and
Soaked it in
I
information.
soaked it in, and I picked up MIDI as quick as it could be. So it didn't take too long. I spent a year in New York, moving from assistant to a studio manager. Didn't like that because I wanted to be in the room more. And then when I moved down to Atlanta, I started. And about a year later, I was in the chair. I was working with Keith Sweat and a lot of the artists from that era.
Were
You did that so well. It was so politically correct. I respect that. That was good.
were you with Red Zone at that time?
No, I was working with actually my brother-in-law. His name's Eric McCain, and this is Deep Sound Recording. So he was a producer, well, still is a producer, and he did a couple of songs for Keith Sweat, and he's probably one of the few people that had a 2-inch machine in the house. So it was like, really, you got a studio in the house? Yeah, and we could put a booth anywhere.
I got a 2-inch in my house.
Yeah, and it was an experience because I got a lot of.
That was funny. Nobody caught that.
Well, I caught it, but I wasn't.
Yeah, it was like,
I wasn't going to react to it because between your affiliation and fixation on knobs and a 2-inch.
It takes a man with confidence in his manhood to say that.
It's not doing nothing but holding up clothes now.
So
Let's get back to this story.
did you work with the famous Sir Thomas Kidd in Atlanta,
Oh,
otherwise
yes.
known as TK?
Yes, TK. I worked out of his studio. Never worked with him. It's always using his beautiful facility. It's
Yeah.
one of my favorite studios.
Not
Next
so-
to the Red Zone studio we have in Atlanta that is just incredible now.
Yeah, you guys got it made down.
Yeah, that studio's incredible.
So B, let me ask you something. And you've worked with everybody. You got multiple Grammys, multiple nominations, and everything. Obviously, your ability is to get something from a live source or a program source. Let's call it tape, but Pro Tools, to get it into Pro Tools is nobody can touch you. I mean, you've got, have you added up the platinum projects you've done? It's got to be 50 or 60 just this year.
Actually, I've never sat down and did it because we're always working. And
Always
I don't complain about the work. I complain when I don't have the work. It's like, because this is a real, finicky business.
Yeah.
When we like somebody, we like that person. I don't want to change.
Right.
Give me that person. They do that job I need, so I want to continue to work with these people.
But help me here, because the prevailing thoughts these days is everybody wants to be a mixer. And I've argued before on the show that I think the tracking engineer and a good tracking engineer should be paid more than a mixer. And I think that job in its entirety is probably more difficult than mixing because there's a heavy psychological component. You have to control the vibe of the room. And then no matter what you're given, it has to go into Pro Tools so that when you give it to me or Jason or whoever, you don't get that phone call like, dude, what happened to you?
Like, what were you thinking?
Change crack dealers. This is horrible. But can you give some let's instead of making it a broad thing, let's just attack at little individual things. Like you in your responsibilities with Red Zone, you actually do sometimes get some outside projects that you have to work on and that sort of thing.
Sure.
What would you say are some things that would be applicable to Cat working at home on his own stuff that could be improved upon that you see as consistent common mistakes? Well, let's not use the word mistakes, but things that can be
That's
improved.
a good question. Well, it's like, since we use a lot of Pro Tools, of course, everybody's Pro Tools based, but a lot of people write in Logic, Ableton Live, Fruity Loops. So it's a real digital world now. So it's not like I have people setting up the keyboard, setting up a drum machine.
Right.
So I'm just getting files left and right. And, a lot of people don't know the proper ways in their, format, how to export a file, how to bounce a file. So sometimes I get a file that's just totally distorted. There's no headroom. It's just redlined and clipping all the way out. So it's.
So would you say leaving headroom is the most consistent mistake you see?
Yeah, because a lot of people get really attached to their mix, which I totally respect. But if you're sending me distorted files and you want me to go somewhere with it, I can't really do too much. It's you really want the file to be the purest it can be. Red lights aren't always good in digital.
I'm going to do an ITL on that because I think, especially us guys that started out in analog, we're used to redder the better. And, and you don't get rewarded for that.
Yeah, if a needle slamming it feelt better. It sounded better.
But not in the digital world. Yeah. So when let's stay on this subject for a minute. So for example, like if you're doing vocals, you were gracious enough to take us through how you recorded. Whose vocal are we talking about in that ITL?
Everybody's. That's probably one of my favorite chains because it's hands down. It's the mic I use, the 251, the Telefunken, is a great all-around mic. I mean, I even use it for other pieces of equipment, And then the chain, the 1073 into the CO1B. I mean, I rarely have a problem where I go, I need something different for an artist. It's rare. I've probably had to change the mic out maybe twice.
I think it was either Katy Perry or...
Yeah, Katy, we've used...
And Rihanna. I forget who you were working on then.
Who was it?
It doesn't matter. Check out the ITL with Andrew Whooper, one of my former assistants, and B-Luv, who was not one of my former assistants. I can't remember the number, but check that episode out because it's really, really good. He actually shows you the technique, the chain, and everything. So, when you're trying to get that vocal into Pro Tools, are you trying to get it in there as if it sounded the way it should sound mixed, or do you do extra things to give the mix process options, or do you try and nail the sound right away, or just try to make sure you don't embarrass yourself? Is what I do.
Well, you always don't want to embarrass yourself. That's the first rule. But no, it's the sound that I'm trying to capture is just the purest sound. I want to make the artist feel really good while they're singing. So I don't print EQ. And if I'm compressing, it's very light. I'll just.
You don't print your EQ.
No, I don't print EQ.
Okay.
Because sometimes you might take a little bit too much low end out, and then somebody's like, "Where is it at?" And it's kind of hard to put back what you don't have, So, not printing EQ, but because I'll be able to EQ it to their headphones, and then they're like, it sounds better, it feels better. Cool. Yeah. I'm just trying to get them to feel as comfortable as possible.
You don't print effects or anything.
No.
Compression just.
It's very light.
Because we don't have tape anymore, so there's no need.
Yeah, it's just very light, because I can do it all in the box, but I choose not to until after I'm done recording to do.
When you say very light, like a 2-to-1, 3-to-1 ratio.
2-to-1, maybe a
slow attack, medium release.
Yeah, about a give or take on this attack and release, depending on if I hear it starting to squash a little too much when somebody's getting really dynamic.
You've never taken off more than 2 or 3 dB?
Yeah, roundabout. If I'm going more than that, then I'll just have them start working the mic more. But when I work with a lot of singers now, they're on, the new people that I've been working with, they're on such a level, they understand how to work a mic. It's not, let me get on top of the pop screen. Let me move the pop screen closer. That does nothing. If you can't hear yourself, I can turn you up, and then it's I sound far away.
How was Rihanna to work with?
Actually, I didn't really do too many other vocals. That's Kook Harrell. Kook is the number one vocal guy.
Kook's gonna be on the show, I think.
Oh yeah,
he said he was.
Now that man, he's like, when it comes to vocals, I thank the Lord for him.
Especially when it comes to doing Dream's vocals, right?
No, I mean, I can handle Dream. Dream is great.
We
'Cause,
both
like,
love Dream, by the way, but
Dream is-
tell the anecdote. Just not anything negative about Dream.
Oh,
Dream
no.
is one of these guys that his ideas come to him so fast
Yeah, you have
that,
to be on
that
it.
B is the only one that can keep up, literally.
No, I got to give Pat Thrall his credit too.
Pat Thrall.
Pat Thrall is he
Pat,
can
yeah.
do it too. Like
Yeah.
there's a few people
No,
out there,
Pat's really good.
and like
But explain to the guys that don't know that sometimes your choice as an engineer is not to get a perfect vocal, it's to get the one you're given
Yeah,
right. Because
but-
Dream would come in from a movie theater and he would just
spit out 3 or 4 songs. Yeah.
and those were the background parts were part of the record, Herb. And he
It's-
wrote the song as he went. So you had to have 10, 15, 20 tracks ready
Yeah,
to
just
go
keep
into
going.
record
Yeah, there's no-
and just bam, 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 one right after the other.
But
And
that capacity to be able to capture that is part of your signature, right?
Yeah. I mean, because it's a team between Tricky and Dream when they work together,
Sure.
and then like sometimes we'll have other like keyboard players in the room, so there'll be 3 people playing. So I'm recording all 3 of them at a time, and now I have somebody saying, "Oh, I like that part of the drum loop, I like that part of the keyboard," and so I'm like, "Oh shit, make a
well,
mark,
you're
make a
actually
mark."
doing
It's like-
mixes that end up being very important.
Yeah, the rough mixes, like, especially with Tricky's ears, because, you know, like, I got to credit my ears to his, because I listen like he does now. And, you know, and that's taken my career a lot higher because you have to pay attention to everything in a song. But getting back to, you know, working with, like, different people, it's like you got to be able to capture everything, and you're really paying attention to 3 different things, even though it's a collective song.
Right.
You know, there's a keyboard part that just went doodle-doo, doodle-doo, doodle-doo. That has to be in every turnaround. If you're not, you just recorded over it because you weren't paying attention when somebody said, "I needed that right there."
Right.
Even though you're recording for 5 minutes, you know,
You're
5,
recording
10
vocals.
Yeah, and vocals at the same time.
And
So,
the
no,
hardest-
I'm just kidding with the vocals, but you know, it's like when 3 people in the room going, it's, you know, you got to make sure you're paying attention to every detail. It's you
And
gotta
then
be
and
on
then
it.
also, do you think that well, let me reverse it. The vibe in the room is going to influence the quality of the performance. So on top of all of that, you got to keep smiling.
Oh, yeah.
Even though
Take the
one of the
abuse.
3 just cussed you out, you still
yeah.
got to worry about the other 2. And if the vibe goes down, the
Oh, yeah.
level you're working at, people just leave and just that day's done.
Oh yeah, you don't want that. That somebody to walk out the room. That's your heart falls out.
But
I mean,
how can you-
I haven't had it happen, knock on wood, but you know, it's you just want to keep the energy of the room, and that comes in part with having a great assistant too. A great assistant knows how to have your back. If he sees something that you might have forgot, he's on it. Yeah, and it's like nothing's wrong. He doesn't say anything. He's not looking for a pat on the back. You just fixed the problem. It's not, you know, because people at the end of the day when they're recording, it's not how they got it. They don't care how you got it. They just want the results.
Yeah.
You know, I don't care that you had to do all this. I just
Also,
want that
too,
thing
with
to
an
sound
artist
perfect.
like Dream, he's so prolific and so gifted. He's one of the most amazing people I've ever been around when it comes to writing songs. I mean, we did a stretch, Herb, where Dream came in, and Dream and Tricky wrote.
Alexa Red's album.
I think we did 5 #1 records in that 2-week period.
Oh, in Vegas. Yeah.
In Vegas.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like that in my life. I mean, he was literally in one studio recording all this stuff, capturing all of these moments. Mid-afternoon, it comes over to where Jason and I are, and we finished that mix that night and started another one the next day, and that was Sting, LL Cool J single,
Yeah.
one of Usher's singles, Moving Mountains, I think it was.
Yeah.
No, Trading Places. Or both of them, really.
Yeah, it was a few of them.
I think Trading might have been, I don't think that was Trading. But anyway, on and on. Celine Dion, golly, what an incredible period. But that's a testament to your ability to keep the flow of the session. But how can we relate that to, like say if a cat's working at his house with a friend or a co-writer, how can that person keep that vibe going that gives you that creative advantage over just sitting in a dark room by yourself
It's
writing
honestly,
blues songs?
It's not really a big secret. It's because you know they're always writing. So what I do, you know, and this is a big key because I do this with a lot of writers. Like if I'm working with a different writer, I'll bring a SM57, something in the room, because you know I work with a lot of writers and vocalists. I'll put a mic in the room, so they're like, oh man, I got an idea. And if I'm in a room that doesn't have a booth, they're like, oh great, because you know not everybody has an iPhone or iPad or something to record into. I have it going with the music you're hearing right now. So, but my thing is keep everything in record.
Right.
always record. Like, I'm a recording engineer.
So that's
you know,
good,
yeah,
that's
just
good, that's
yeah,
good
just,
advice for somebody working alone.
Yeah, like just put it in record, and it's a hard drive.
Right.
You got 500 gig to a terabyte. You know, just keep recording. You can erase it if you don't like it. You know, if not, playlist it, keep moving. But keep organization. Very key to know where you're like, okay, that third take. Where's that cowbell I was looking for?
I gotta
you know?
find it.
But no, it's just keep it and record. Like, you have to record everything. Even if you don't want to record it, just record it. And like, that's what I found in Pro Tools to be very handy is track record. I fell in love with it because working with Tricky, you know, and Dream is the same way, and like maybe one or two other producers, but we'll have multiple keyboards, Logic, an MPC, this sequencer, and they're all going.
Right.
So he might not be using, so I'll take that out of record. I'll just have the option to put something in the record as I'm going. Without track record, I'm like, if it's not armed, I can't get it. So I just keep it in track record. It uses a lot of space, but that's only when we're writing ideas. So when it comes time to doing overdubs, I'll put it back in a quick punch. You know, it's like a punch in and out on like parts that are needed or. You know,
Would it
stuff
be
like
fair
that.
to say that if you didn't have Pro Tools, that you couldn't work the way you work with the speed and efficiency with which you work? I mean, you'd have to store like a warehouse full of 2-inch tape somewhere.
Yeah, it would be a lot more difficult. I would still be able to keep up with the tape. Like, I mean, I started on tape, so like.
I hate tape.
Yeah, because there's no room for error. Like, we didn't have, you know, options of making mistakes. Like, if you clipped a vocal, that was that vocal.
But didn't that no margin for error make you better?
Oh, it sure did. Like I'm glad for the tape. Like, hands down, like, I totally appreciate it. And I like tape. You know, at the end of the day, I would enjoy to do a vocal session where I don't have to punch.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, I can say that. I would still get them. I might be rusty on the tape punch,
No,
but, you know, because it's two fingers instead of just pushing one button.
We should run a tape machine and do an ITL shootout with who's the best puncher, because I think I got you.
Oh, you know what? I'm tricky. Like, sometimes, because, you know, he'll know the song better. I'm like, slide the remote over. You punch that one, because I'd rather the producer take the blame.
Does this ever happen to you? Like, you're working and you accidentally erase something in Pro Tools and your heart sinks and you go, oh, wait a minute, it's Pro Tools.
Oh, yeah, Apple Z. It's still
yeah,
there. Or session backup. Yeah, like, we couldn't make the mistake of, you know, there was no room for error.
Apple Z, man.
Apple Z is amazing.
I wish I could hook that up to my voice. There's a couple of things I like to Apple Z. I said recently at home.
Yeah. Well.
I'm not going to comment. I would like to be able to use
gotta
Apple
deal
Z on some people.
You don't ever use direct boxes.
Guitar players, bass players, but then
But not keyboards.
Not really. But I end up going into, even with the DI, I'll still end up going into like when I do a live bass, if I'm in the studio, I'll do the direct box into the 1073, back into a CO1B. And like, that's sometimes my bass chain too, like to get a live bass. But it's more or less not to get compression out of the CO1B, it's just to get the sound out of it. Yeah.
And the word on the street is you're a genius with guitars. Is that true?
Absolutely not. Guitar miking, I have the best plugin for that. It's called Another Engineer.
The AE.
Yeah, Another Engineer. Like, no, Woo is amazing though. Like, Woo, like, we did a lot of live recording together. Like, when we do like the burlesque, we did a lot of recuts of like an Etta James song, and they wanted it to sound authentic. So before, you know, Tricky comes in, we're in there, we got about 15, 16 mics on this thing, 15, 16 mics on this. Like, we need this to sound authentic. Okay, drum set, 3 mics, 2 overheads, this one mic, this one mic. That's how it was recorded. And like, the way things sound now, and plus, you know, it depends on the studio you're at too. Like, we worked out of East West when we did that, and it's all Neve equipment. So they're like, do you need anything else? I'm like, no, I'm in heaven right now. Like, it's anything to record through.
Like on Single Ladies, was there anything unique about what you did on the keyboards on that? Because I remember the keyboards sounding really, really great when I heard that for the first time.
On Single Ladies, I did a lot of editing on that song. Like, really? I came in on the last moment because I've heard that song. I was at the time working on Dream's second album in Malibu.
I remember.
And you know, and this is probably maybe 5 hours before that song came to mix when I got on the song. Like, because I was like, this song, I heard it over the phone, and I was like, whatever
Actually,
that is,
I think when we
it
were
was
working on it,
amazing.
I think you were still working on it when Jay and I started mixing it.
Yeah, like we got a session sent to us, and he was like, listen to it and tell me, like, because I, like her vocals and stuff, it goes from her to the mix to the radio. Nobody else touches it, but this is Tricky's song, so of course, he wants to make sure everything's right. So I just heard the song, and I was just like, okay, I got an idea. Let me mess with it for a couple minutes. I just want to work on
I
this.
didn't know that, and that made the record?
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So, like, I had to work on it, because hearing it over the phone, I was like, I couldn't wait to, like, hear it, like, right out in front of me.
Who tracked that?
Who did track that? I think Kook might have tracked some of that.
Damn, Kook,
Yeah,
man.
Kook is
the best engineer that doesn't want to be an engineer that we know.
hands down.
I mean, he's incredible.
Yeah, he's on everybody's
What about
project.
a lot of our audience is interested in movies. Like we had Meyerson on, Alan Meyerson. We had Simon Franklin. You actually worked on a couple of movies, right? You worked on Burlesque. You worked on the Lorax.
Yeah, we did a few songs for, like, the Lorax was a little bit more challenging because it's animation, and a song, they work on these things for years. Like, a movie is worked on for like 2 to 3 years.
I mix that way too. Ask her.
Please get me started. Please don't get me started.
And you can't really get too attached to a song, even though you start liking a song, because all of a sudden you just have the perfect blend of everything. Like, oh, this is it. Everybody's loving it. They go, it's not the right song for this scene. Do something different.
Absolutely.
You're like, wait a minute, I just worked for 6 months on this. You're like, no, that's not it.
And there's a committee of people.
Oh, yeah, it's
that
not
you
just
have
one
to
person.
satisfy, and that can change from
Sure.
meeting to meeting, call to call.
Yeah, and we worked with John Powell on the Lorax, and he's a pretty amazing guy. And he was like, yeah, you just gotta, toughen your skin up, because when we're in the R&B and the pop world, the rock world, we like something. That's it. This is the song. This is the single. It's coming out. But no, that doesn't fit the scene right. Shorten it. Change this. We don't like what you said.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. And you don't get an attitude. You just do it. Because
There's no option.
Yeah, there's no option. Either you do it or we'll find somebody else.
change you.
Yeah, exactly.
Every time I get something from you to mix, the drums are pretty much there. You don't have to change a lot of stuff. Are you doing anything special? Like you're tracking out, are you still tracking out? I can't remember if Tricky's an MP or not.
Well, our signature thing of course, was always an MPC, because that's where,
I remember in Vegas we were using the MPs.
Yeah, and a lot of the sounds, like, I make the drum kit still. Like, to the day, I'll still sit in there for, like, hours and just go through sounds and go, oh, okay. And I'll sit there and, like, tweak the sound into the MPC and go, there's a little crunch I'm looking for.
And would you consider that a function of an engineer? It is nowadays.
It is nowadays, because, you got to do a lot of sound searching for people. Like,
The reason I'm asking that question that way is because the profession of audio engineering is changing, and you need a lot of skills. I mean, you need to know how to repair gear now. You need to know how to
you
do
can't
that.
be a one-trick pony anymore.
Herb is a big proponent of not just learning one segment of audio engineering, but learning film, learning TV, learning Foley, learning video games. And I think he's 100% right. And that's a point, that anything you can do to enhance your worth as an engineer, learn it. Because it might be you're in a tie with somebody else, but you know how to program a keyboard or
Yeah, it's like, having the MIDI knowledge now, because I could walk into any studio and say, hook up this MIDI setup, and people look at me like, what's MIDI?
Right.
Because everybody comes in the studio, I have a laptop and a controller. That's a studio.
Right.
That's it. It used to be 10 keyboards over here, a live piano in there, a drum set, a drum machine, and everybody was, now it's just, here's my studio. And when they get done, here's the song, put it on the computer, let's go.
That's it.
Simon Franklin said he did Titanic with 4,000 pounds, 2 tons of equipment, and he did Avatar with one computer and an Avid Pro Tools card.
Amazing.
It's a whole new world, isn't it?
It sure is. Like, and I've experienced it firsthand at a writing camp, like with a record label that I was part of. And, they threw me in the big SSL room, and I was loving it. I was like, cool, I didn't want this little small MIDI pre-production room. Yeah. And what I've noticed is, like, all the other engineers we're hiring is, like, myself and the other guy that was in the big, the big rooms, we're working. But the other producers, they don't need the engineers are sitting outside smoking cigarettes. They don't need them. I mean, they're in there doing everything themselves. So when they're done, they're like, here. You know, it's taking a lot of jobs from people, and the people don't realize like the market's really narrowing down.
I was going to ask you that later because I think it's important to give advice to our audience, guys who may want to become you and so on and so forth. And we have a pretty wide swath of folks, and they want to know technical things, but they want to know business things. And sometimes that advice coming from you guys is as critical as them learning the technical stuff. It affects your ability to work, right?
Oh, sure. Because, you know, it affects your way to work because you can't really be narrow-minded. Like you said, you have to have more than one skill.
Yeah.
I can't just say, I record really well, but that's it. But I don't know how to set up a keyboard. I don't know how to listen to a producer. I don't know how to edit a song. You have to know everything. It's like, I fought Logic for a long time. I did.
And you still should keep doing that.
I fell in love with it because now I don't want to carry an MPC on the airplane. I can sit on the airplane and go, shit, I got an
But you
idea.
don't mix with Logic, do you?
No, sir. I didn't mean it like
vaguely religious.
Well, there goes our Logic endorsement.
I mean, I love Logic for what it is because I mean it's a great way to get. It's a great writing tool. It really is. I mean, what it does, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And you know, Pro Tools for what it does is amazing. You know, of course, everybody's going, oh, I want to do like this, and I want to copy what they're doing. So they're still going back and forth trying to like update their software to be like each other.
We need to get the batter's box.
Okay, B, I can't remember. Did you want to try a batter's box with plugins, or did you want to try it like me name a sound and you name a song that you've worked on that you think represents that? Which would be harder and which would embarrass you the most?
Probably naming the song.
You want to try it?
Yeah, why not?
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
Embarrass me the most. If
it doesn't work, we'll edit it out.
Let's roll batter's box.
Guitars.
Hummingbird Heartbeat on Katy Perry.
Yeah, that's a good one. In fact, you could say
Katy. Yeah, I was gonna say Katy Perry on the lead too. Like that's a great song.
I was just listening to one of the songs before I came in today, and
yeah, she's
rap leads.
Hands down. Between what was it? Throw It in a Bag with Fabulous and My Baby with LL.
Oh yeah.
Like those.
Is that the one I worked on?
I think so.
Yeah, I
think
love
so.
that.
Like those were like really good.
Yeah.
Good sound.
Everything you
it was
did
a
on
great
that
sound.
mix. We did that in Vegas. Piano. It can be synth piano or acoustic piano.
Synth piano.
Either one. It doesn't matter.
The acoustic piano. I want to say I Look to You, the Whitney Houston. Yeah, that was like one of the last things, like her last single, and like we got to work on that, and that was just amazing. And I actually found footage in my laptop of me recording that piano, so it gave me chills. Big John.
No joke.
Yeah, and it was like one take, and he was like, all right, just punch me in at the end.
Okay, Herb's gonna bitch slap me if I don't keep this moving. Strings.
Well, I didn't do much with them, but the song that I'm gonna go to is Fancy on Dreams album, the second album.
Yeah.
Fancy was, the strings on there were just, and the production on that song is just amazing.
I don't think I worked on that. Jay worked on that.
Jay did.
Yeah, Jay did a great job on that. Bass.
Come back to the bass.
Okay.
Because we've done so many,
Right.
and we use
Just
to shout him out. His Alex Al's our go-to bass player. He's
I
amazing.
love the bass on the first Dream album. Just pick a song from the first Dream album that you like.
Any of them.
I know, any of them.
All.
On that.
So,
Yeah, the first Dream album.
the first
Let's
Dream
just say
album.
the first Dream album. Synth pads.
Anything that's been out.
I tease Tricky about that.
The synth pads that I love a lot of the stuff. Like it's like
know, there's so many
it's so
good
hard
ones
to
on
pick. It was like
I think Tricky's a genius with those.
because he knows how to take one sound but blend it with
Let's
other
just pick
ones.
one just to make this work. Touch My Body.
Yeah, it was Touch My Body. Was a good
Mariah
one.
Carey.
I'm getting dry on these.
Kicks. That's a hard one too. Dream's first album again, really.
Second album also, because there was a lot of songs that just had a because
On the pop side, I like the Katy Perry stuff too.
yeah, there's one on her album that I actually programmed the drums on.
Which one?
Who Am I Living For?
Oh,
so
cool.
I love those drums. Like,
Yeah, you should.
yeah, those
No,
are
man,
my favorite right there.
Self-promotion, that's her.
I love
Herb says
those.
that's what it's about. Snares. Same record. We'll skip that. And then on your stereo bus, switch it up a little bit. When have you done something on the stereo bus and it came back from mastering kind of unchanged that you're proud of? What would that change have been and what song?
On a stereo bus, I really don't put much on a stereo bus at the end. You know, if I do, it's really for the producer to go home and listen to what we just did, because I don't like really change.
You don't remember a time when that sounded a lot
Yeah,
like the mastering?
It's rare, because when it comes back, it's always something different on the mastering. I'm like, it's not what I did, but you know, it's like all of a sudden the kick's sitting a little thicker than what it was. I was like, all right.
But you're a good mixer too. I mean, we don't call his work rough mixes. We call them reference mixes because they spend so much time on them.
We spend a lot of work on them, and it's just listening to what you have.
Well, get ready and get a thick skin, because this is the part of the show where Herb gives you a grade on batter's box. How do you do, Herb?
He did great. The pitcher had some control issues. He's throwing a little while.
Hit me there on once or
But no,
twice.
but you did all right. Did we get your injury fixed?
Well, we get points for a very unique batter's box, don't we?
Well, you're the first pitcher who walked somebody all the way around the bases. You were hitting him on first and second and third. Let's get to corner office. Drew, let's introduce our guy, Drew Adams, over there.
Yo,
Drew, how are you?
what the
Drew, this
deal?
whole
What's going
show.
on?
Sorry, Drew.
All good?
We'll get you next
A
show.
weird
why
batter's
you
box. It was like Babe Ruth out there.
So
All right,
there's Drew. Drew, you ready?
I do. All right, yeah. First question from Avery Borochov. There you go. I would love to hear your take on your instinct of choosing the right mic for the job. What would lead you to draw a C12, M49, U67,
Excellent
or
question.
Sony instead of your
Is
go-to?
that Avery?
Avery Borochov.
Good question.
Well, like I said, I have my favorite mic is the 251. Like, hands down, if I could travel with one, my own, all the time, I would. Because certain studios, their mics are not well taken care of.
Is there a less expensive mic you've been surprised by?
Not really. You know, like the bottle, the big bottle, they had the one with the different capsules. We used that on American Idol, and that turned out to be a pretty decent
I
mic.
forgot about American Idol. That was a nightmare.
Yeah, sure it was. It was a grueling thing, and like Whooper paid the price on that.
Whooper.
Yeah,
Poor Andrew. He was like mixing at 4 a.m. Got another one, Drew?
Yeah.
Starting mixes at 4 a.m.
Real quick, I guess it's kind of for everybody, a financial question from Matt Serene. What are some basic guidelines for someone starting out? Can some light be shed on the subject, hourly, day rates per song, lump sum for a project, etc.? How does it all work?
Yes.
Well, that's one thing a lot of schools don't teach you on when you get out is how to invoice. That's one key thing. Like I had to learn the hard way. Like, okay, I did all this work. Where's my pay?
where's the check? Right.
They're like, where's the invoice? I'm like, well, here's the invoice. Who do I get it to? Then it's like sometimes it's great to have a manager, and that's where they come in to play the big part, because you can do all this work and not get paid. But day rate, it's changing. It's really changing now. It's a lot
One
less.
more time, Drew.
Yeah. Hourly, day rates per song, lump sum for a project, points on the record, etc. How does it all work?
On the level that B works at,
For someone starting out.
yeah, for somebody starting out,
Points aren't gonna happen.
It can be, points aren't going to happen. But I wonder if we should do maybe an ITL that you do, because that's an excellent question.
Well, I was going to say, there are lots of requests about those kinds of questions. What we have to decide is just how we're going to present it.
Yeah, because it's not a short answer.
Well, that's a
and
whole nother swimming pool,
And if you
yeah.
present it in small slices, you're going to throw people off. You can start hitting people down one direction, and it changes for geographic location, where you are, music scene,
Hey,
genre.
Matt,
So let's tell everybody, we will
Yeah.
get to those business affairs questions. We'll round it
Yeah.
up. Drew, give us another one.
Cool. I got a good one from Philip Shand. B, what was one of your most creative moments of your career? For instance, I had a friend who recorded a bunch of people jumping on steps at Abbey Road and incorporated it in a track, like something like that.
God, there's been so many.
That was for B.
Yes.
Y'all
Like I
both
said, B has had so many.
I didn't know you changed your name.
Golly,
You didn't tell me.
just stop tape for a second.
Start over?
Man, I just
Appleseed,
I flashed back. I had so many moments.
Like, yeah,
I mean,
it could be anything. It could be,
golly.
this is one of the, it was just something I was doing. I left the mic on in the booth, and then for some odd reason, I was doing this on tape actually, and then I'm recording, and I'm just hearing like the headphones like, feeding back, but it's just giving me a little effect. And I was like, whatever that is, that's my intro. Like, and it was a mistake. And like sometimes you listen to what you did as a mistake, it turns into something.
Absolutely.
And it's not a mistake if it works.
Was it a song we'd know?
Good Lord. I remember doing it. I don't remember what songs. It was like, I'm old.
I know you
Dave.
got a story.
I'm getting old.
I got drugs.
I know you got a story though.
Dave always
Something
has
like
that.
that.
You know what? Let's move on. Let's get another question.
All right, let's get a little more technical here. From Taylor Haltzheimer. How do you rein in overheads on drums? Is compression really even a good idea on overheads, or is there an EQ trick I'm missing?
Well, the ambience that gets contributed to the overall sound of the drum. Don't think of the drums and drum mics as separate entities. Think of the drum as one instrument. Don't think of it as 20 different instruments. That'll get you started down the right path. Overheads don't really respond real well to harder compression, but room mics respond extremely well to compression, because you can change think of your compression knob as a reverb knob on room mics. It'll increase the reverb. And I did an ITL on that one time. Drew, remember? Not Drew, but Will. I don't use compression on overhead mics. Do you?
No, we did the burlesque stuff. We used the RCA, the 44s.
For overheads?
Yeah, because we were doing a big room at East West. We had the big room. So
I usually use 451s with a 10 dB pad, 452s with a 10 dB pad.
Well, because we scaled it down, because we wanted to get more of an authentic sound, so we took out top and bottom mics.
Authentic, but you mean vintage.
Vintage sounds good.
Mine sounded like a third-rate Kieran Carpenter drum kit. Yeah, mine wasn't authentic.
Third grade Karen
I think he insulted me, didn't he, Drew?
A little bit.
Let's shut this thing down, Herb. I gotta go home.
Our hour has drawn nigh. It's just a perfect segue, actually. Key question is, we got to come back and get with you and do either some ITLs and do some practical things. Will you do that with us? Come back and do some more stuff? We haven't even scratched the surface with you.
Oh, no, I would love to come back.
Good. And maybe we'll come out on location and get in the studio.
Yeah, definitely. Come and
Want to do that?
Yeah, sure.
Because
Thanks,
I think
Like,
we
I would come back anytime. I love you,
You've been
Dave.
incredible.
Thanks, bro.
Anytime.
Good to see you, man.
It's a pleasure.
Wrap us up, Dave. It's
Okay.
time to get out of here.
Guys, once again, there's a lot of information. Some of it might not seem applicable, but go back and listen to the concept of what he's saying. Try to apply those in the situation that you're in, because you're getting information from one of the best. And like I said, what a mixer is given is somewhat near the end of the process. We're already handed the vision. This is the guy that helps create the producer's vision, and then as you can tell, he's skilled enough to toss in some of his own vision. So create some of those vibes in your own studio, even if you're by yourself, and your mixes and your tracking and your music will be a hell of a lot better. Thanks, B.
Thanks, B.
And guys, next week's show is going to be a real good show. That's pretty slick, wasn't it, Herb? It's going to be a great show, so we'll see you next week.